Great. Thank you for reminding me, because I want to be able to send this to people who can be here. Okay, we're going to go back to my share screen. Yes, Lowe's is a resource to manufacture audio quality. So I'm going to go over the 4 universal human stabs, which incorporated me. A simple practice on to you. Then we're going to look at the daily questions, an open sort of comment and sharing part, and have some announcements. And then for the people who are interested in camouflage information, I did some research, and also a fun way to have absolutely great hair every day.
Kathleena?
Yeah.
I cannot hear you at all. It sounds like somebody's playing the accordion and plunking a piano when you talk. So, and I've already taken myself off the video.
Okay.
So keep going. If it doesn't work, I'll get a recording or something, but I honestly can't understand a word you're saying.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know if anybody else is having that.
I am, yeah, I'm having the same problem. Sometimes it's crystal clear and sometimes it's just so mangled.
What I just noticed is it was all choppy, and then I took myself off mute and it got better. Did you notice that?
No.
So that might be something to try if we're all real quiet.
Well, I did take it off mute and it was still that way.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
I guess everybody, why don't we take everybody's video off? And just by clicking on the bottom left corner, you know, where it says stop video. And yeah, maybe unmute, but just be quiet for now. Hi, Ronnie.
Hi, Kathleena.
Michael,
So,
you're okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that she got my hi, but whatever.
No, I don't think so.
hi, Michael. I got it.
Oh, there she is.
Okay.
She said hi back. Okay.
Let's start with this. Let's start with this, which is everything is energy, physics 101. For the scientists in the crowd, we know this to be a truth. This is, everything is absolutely energy. Our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy, this virus is energy. And so the way I want to start, can you hear me now very well? Pretty well?
Yes.
So I want everybody to just take a moment of quiet and stillness, because we are connecting through the miracle of technology in this way and creating community. And so let's just take a moment to come into the present moment. We're all going through a lot right now, a collective trauma. And so it's important to breathe, come back into the body. And take a nice breath and just sigh out on a ah. Right. And so I'm just going to say a few words. Spirit, God, divine intelligence, whatever form the mystery is for you, whether it be Buddha or Jesus or whatever, angels, I call in a higher grace. I call in love. And I set an intention to connect each and every person on this Zoom meeting so that they know that they're not alone and that we're here together and that we're holding a space like a big virtual circle. And just imagine a very bright light in the middle of our virtual circle, like a sun, a star. And as we hold this space together, and we hold the energy of love and compassion, just imagine that light getting stronger as we hold this circle together. Imagine that light getting brighter and stronger, and see it being sent out like a pebble cast into a pond with concentric rings going out, to all the people fighting on the front line, the medical professionals, the people that are quarantined, the people in their homes, us. Just imagine sending love and light out from your heart. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, just breathing into that light. I ask to be guided today. And I express my gratitude for all of you and for this connection and this opportunity to be of service. I release that prayer and say, so be it, and so it is. So, I started, I got inspired for this. I have no idea how to bring my face back on here, but with this daily quarantine questions, which we're going to come back to, but that last one, what beauty am I either creating, cultivating, or inviting in today? And one of the things that really struck me in this unprecedented experience that we're all having is the videos of my Italian relatives, compatriots, standing on their balconies and singing and joining their voices together so that people were not were feeling less alone and more of a sense of connection. And it really touched me, the opera singers stepping out onto balconies and giving free concerts and bringing beauty into a dark time. And it struck me that there's some experience that I can share around how beauty has touched my life and how the power of slowing down when I was unplugged with a near fatal disease 6 years ago really prepared me for what's happening. I mean, not that you could ever really be prepared for what's happening, but it's familiar to the experience that I had. So I want to tell you that what I am, rather than who I am, is a miracle. I defied the odds. I am a practical, I'm going to come back to that story. And I consider myself a mystic, a practical mystic, because I am a shapeshifter of energy. I use creative tools of makeup and hairstyling to shapeshift clients' perceptions of themselves and to help them experience more of their beauty. But I'm also really tuned into energy practices and how our thoughts and our emotions, how tension can hold on in our bodies, and we're all going through this right now. So these quarantine questions are a wonderful practice right now, which if you have a spiritual practice, a meditation practice, or any kind of practice that slows you down and helps you come into your body and be connected to your breath is a really helpful thing right now. So 6 years ago, actually in the fall of 2013, I need to put my picture. Can you see me?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
you can. Okay, great. So in the fall of 2013, I was standing in the dispensary of the salon that I was working at, mixing all over a client, and I looked at the ceiling because that's where God is made, and I just said,
You're breaking up again. Can't hear you.
Okay, so I was mixing a bowl of color. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
God, this.
Yeah.
We'll just do the best we can.
Just back up.
Let's see.
It works when you're further away.
Okay.
So when you're seated back, it seems to work better.
So when I was mixing this bowl of color, I kind of looked up at the ceiling and said, okay, God, you know, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, if this is my purpose, then I'm fine with that. I love my clients, but if there's a way that I can actually serve through beauty, you're going to have to unplug me because I'm too busy. I'm really busy, and I don't know how I would fit it in my schedule. This is not a prayer you want to make, but you have to be very careful about prayers like that. In less than 4 months, I was back east helping out, taking care of my mom, and I started developing a back pain before I left from the West Coast to the East Coast. And to make a long story short, within a week, I was in the hospital with the most intense knife in the back pain. And my sister basically saved my life, took me to her doctor, and they immediately hospitalized me. I had 5 abscesses in the bones of my thoracic spine, my lower lumbar, my psoas muscle, and the actual sleeve surrounding my spinal cord had infection in it. And they really couldn't figure out how I survived this. I remember being in the hospital and the chaplain came in and to talk to me about anything spiritual I needed to talk about. And in any event, they put a PICC line in through a vein of my arm, and they were pumping IV antibiotics. And of course, I was on serious pain medication. And I remember that it's like there's a train coming through. I don't know. So long story short, I remember that first day in the hospital saying to my sister, oh my God, I've been unplugged. And it was many months of being completely unplugged from a very busy life, doing makeup and hair in the salon, doing it on photo shoots, doing press junkets with, you know, with celebrities and stuff, to 3 infusions a day, 3 times a day, and having to sit still while the medicine came into my body through this PICC line. And what I realized was a lot of busyness in my life kept me from really feeling a lot of things. I didn't leave space for anything, and now I had a huge amount of space. And I didn't know if I were going to go back to work or if the infection was going to come back. I really was in the space of I don't know, which is a familiar space now for all of us right now. And one day, I was up with my husband. I went with him up to a ski cabin. It was the winter. It was February 2014. And he went off skiing, and I was writing and watching TED Talks and just kind of being quiet. And I remember sitting in the bedroom looking out the sliding glass door, and there was snowfall from the night before. It was a lot of snow, and the flakes were just kind of cascading down off the pine trees. And I stood there. I sat there watching, and I just got really still and really quiet. And I just had this awakening or something. Something happened in me, and I had this idea to take my infusion canisters, the 3 containers that I had to do in each of the periods of infusions of the antibiotics. And I pasted on there these little stickers that said courage, faith, creativity, inspiration, so that as that medicine went in, I was consciously infusing into the medicine of a positive energy that would then pump to every cell in my body, so that I could fill and saturate my whole awareness, focusing on positive as opposed to focusing on the what ifs. And that happened in a moment of stillness, in a moment of like soft, gentle beauty that I was just observing and meditating. So I wanted to share that. I want to introduce you to an amazing book that is a healing balm for the soul. I'd like to introduce my friend Ruth Gendler, and a quote from her book. I'm going to have her speak later a little bit about just to put her voice in here about the healing capacity of beauty. But this quote is one of the quotes from the book that I just really love, and that is, beauty is an energy, not an image, and that energy can go anywhere. That energy takes on an image, a form, many images, and many forms. This book is so dense. It's not a book that you just sit and you read through it. You can open it up and read any part of it. But Ruth has given us a smorgasbord of all the different aspects of beauty and how beauty touches and feeds our souls. So I wanted to share that with you. And actually, Ruth, why don't you unmute now and chime in here on the healing capacity of
Okay.
beauty?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. I loved your working with those qualities also, since I came to writing about beauty after I wrote a book of qualities, and beauty was one of the qualities. It's probably one of the most misunderstood of the qualities I wrote about, I wrestle with, because we've been very dismissive of it and left it to picture perfect form. And it's such a profound and contradictory and wonderful quality just to talk about it. Just to talk about beauty can be lifting our energy and remembering. You were talking about inviting beauty. I think the words I use a lot are noticing, making, remembering beauty, and all the different forms. Just to nod to the different forms, I would say if you go into a bookstore that's specialing calendars after the first of the year, and you look at the calendars of wildflowers and motorcycles and Japanese wood blocks and Monet's garden, I mean, just, we all love so many different kinds of beauty. That's not the point. It is the movement underneath those forms that you're talking about, that I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And also, what an amazing treat about this book, too, everybody, is that Ruth is an incredibly talented visual artist and illustrates the book. It's just a satisfying, nourishing meal whenever you pick it up. And
Thank you very much. It's a slow food book. It's
a slow food book. This is mine, if you can see. It has all these little tags that I have of places where I've highlighted. So thank you, Ruth, for chiming in here.
Thank you.
I want to also now talk about my dear sweet mentor, Angeles Arian, who was a cultural anthropologist and award-winning author, educator. She consulted many organizations, businesses. She wrote a book called The Fourfold Way, which was perennial wisdoms gleaned from indigenous and through different cultures that are universal themes. I was in her mentorship program for 5 years. She was an extraordinary woman. And one of the things that I learned from her, if you were depressed and you went to the shaman of some of the earth cultures and said, you know, I'm depressed, pretty good chance that shaman would say, when did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing or being enchanted by stories or finding the comfort in the sweet territory of silence? because that is where we have experienced loss of soul. Angelus was an incredible influence in my life because she taught me about archetypal energies. She wrote a book on the Tarot, which is an ancient book of wisdom that studies symbols, cross-cultural symbols, and every kind of experience that humans can have in their life. And that's a daily practice for me. So when we talk about beauty, we got to talk about how beauty manifests. And let me go back to this concept of the silver lining in a horrific situation that we're in right now, if there could be a silver lining, is that we have, without, you know, our choice, obviously, but we've been forced to slow down. And when we slow down, we open up an opportunity to go deeper. And so the 4 universal healing salves where beauty shows up, where beauty comes through that form, as Ruth was talking about, singing. The people in Italy, actually singing by yourself when you're having a frightened moment can be very calming and soothing. Dancing, moving our bodies, slowing down, coming out of the head and coming into our bodies. Storytelling, hearing experiences and stories of other people, another healing salve. And of course, silence. And I love this little photo from online. Where there is silence, one finds the anchor of the universe. I had a very interesting mystical experience many years ago, actually before I even got sick. I was being guided through a meditation that had the person who was guiding me through it had me drop into my heart, and I had an experience of the veil falling away and seeing the truth of who I was and of who everybody is. And the physical form falls away. And it was this picture of a mountain with the wind moving through the reeds in front of this mountain. And it was in the flash of an instant that I had this experience, and it dropped me to my knees, and I started crying. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand until later that is what is us. We are something so much bigger than our minds and our bodies and our thoughts. And what do I want to say about that? Oh, that's what I want to say about that. So, seeing, the quality of our seeing. This is another book that I highly recommend. That when we're forced to slow down, it is an opportunity to see in a different way. And I love this quote from John O'Donohue: seeing is not merely a physical act. The heart of vision is shaped by the state of the soul. When the soul is alive to beauty, we begin to see life in a fresh and vital way. So I think, like a lot of people, I'm taking walks each day. And a simple practice that I wanted to give people was this idea, first of all, slowing down. Let me come to that slide. This is just a simple practice. And had I been together enough, I would have asked you to have a flower in front of you, or if you're near a window, to look out, so that we could practice this simple practice. It's very simple. It's something that I do when I take my walk. Is I leave my phone in the house, and I go for a walk in my neighborhood. And it's, spring here in California, and the San Francisco Bay Area is exploding everywhere. That picture of Let me show you this again. These are the orchids. My husband is an orchid whisperer. And there was a time where I had to draw the line because every flat surface in the house would be covered with orchids, which has its pluses and it has its minuses. But in any event, these are the orchids that are just joyfully singing right outside my front door. And so what I like to do when I go for my walk, and this is how you can simply connect to the healing power of beauty. First is by slowing down. And then being curious.
Yeah.
Being curious. I have to go back to that slide. Look for the beauty around you in nature. This is the easiest way to do it. You could certainly close your eyes and sink into the beauty of music. But it really necessitates a slowing down, coming out of the mind, connecting with the breath, and being curious. And looking, holding the gaze, and noticing maybe in that beautiful flower something you might not have noticed before. Maybe just the lines of color and the way that the burgundy meets the yellow and the white. But just allowing what is in front of you to actually meet you and breathing it in, slowing down. And then the last part of the practice is simply saying thank you. Thank you. That I right now, in this moment, I am well, I am breathing, I am grateful to breathe right now, and I'm taking this in, and it is a gift.
Mhm.
When you come through a near-death experience, and literally I am a miracle, a medical miracle, they were scratching their heads, they could not figure out how I wasn't paralyzed, let alone dead, because if any of the abscesses had broken and gone to my brain, I would have been in a coma and dead pretty quickly. And I came through it in a dangerous situation. I actually made it through. And there's another part of my life where I was flirting with danger and death in that many years ago in 1988, I was a skydiver. One would call me maybe crazy, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. I did it 80 times, 80 times, because it was an incredibly spiritual experience for me. And I never felt more alive. The reason I bring that up is we have guidelines right now about how to stay safe. And in this situation, we are being called to slow down. We're being called to be more mindful. And it was kind of the same thing. There I was in a situation where I had to stay focused and mindful next to this expanse of blueness around me and sky that just had a profound effect on my soul and on my heart and on my confidence in a way. I did stop skydiving because, like anything, it got to be an addiction, and addictions, the people around me, that's the only thing they did. But it did serve a purpose for a while. And the point of bringing that up is about balancing information that we need to stay safe, focusing energy and directing it towards positive thoughts. For me, it's not oversaturating with media. I did that on Wednesday and Thursday. I was like, in a fetal position. It was too much. So really titrating how much of the media I take in, how much of the outside world I connect to, and creating positive practice. Which brings me to this again. Yes, hold on a second. So I'm going to open it up now. And, you know, you can share on any of these, but the theme of today is about beauty and how it can be a healing force. So I'm really curious, what beauty are you either creating, cultivating, or inviting in today? What is helping you direct transforming fear energy into creative energy? Because that's a choice. Let's just, I'm gonna be quiet for a while. I want to hear from you guys. And I think the easiest way to do this is for me to, let's see, call on people. I don't know how to do this. Let's see. If you go to participants, you'll see your name and you can actually raise your hand. I think that'll be the easiest way to do this. Do you see where it says? Let me see. Oh, shit. Okay, Kate Jones. Yes. Thank you. There.
I raised my hand.
Yay.
Hey, thank you.
Come back.
Thank you so much for the reflection and all the resources that are not only in your story, Kathleena, but in all these beautiful slides you've assembled. And just to contribute, so much to say, I'm sure, from each of us as to how we're negotiating these sequestered days at home. But I've discovered that if I can welcome each day, centering my head over my heart and my my heart over my pelvis in a brief, maybe a 30-minute yoga practice. And then I structure the day kind of gently. So I look at what's the priorities. And then I'm here with my 100-year-old mother right now in Fresno, which is an amazing project in itself. But and that's all going very nicely and lovingly. But I am going out for a walk every day, to your point, Kathleena. And on the days that Mom does not go with me, like I headed out today, and I did take my phone with me and I had it in my pocket, and I turned a corner and was shocked by a field of tulips that I thought I had taken a psychedelic drug, which I've never taken in my life. I thought, how is this beauty possible? And thank God I had my camera. I went close to the tulips and was just marveling at the subtle, extraordinary geometry, color. It's a mystery. Who does this? You know, it's awe. Is beauty and awe are part of the same conversation, and therefore it's a divine. It's in the divine experiment, being closer to what has created all of us and all of this. So in the spirit of the tulip, I bow to you, Kathleena, for bringing this conversation together today, and to each person in the circle. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Kate. Anybody else want to share any thoughts, any seeds?
Oh, well,
Tony,
Tony.
please go right ahead.
Yeah, you know, it varies for me from day to day. Like the other day when it was still drizzling, I met a friend in Mill Valley and went for a beautiful walk in the redwoods. And I just couldn't believe I live here.
Mm.
I mean, it was just so absolutely stunning. And for a couple of days, I've been working like on cleaning out my garage, my office, and that's creating beauty of a different sort.
Right.
It's creating space and getting rid of all this clutter. But the beauty has been in finding old letters. You know, like I found a letter that my father wrote to my mom on the 1-year anniversary when he was stationed in the war in London. And I mean, it was just amazing. So I've been finding these things that are just really heartwarming. But I do have to say that the thing that I find hardest, and so far the beauty alone doesn't do it for me, is this feeling when I wake up, I feel like I'm in that movie Groundhog Day, where I just wake up and it's like you're in this nonsensical environment again. And it's like this void where nothing familiar bounces back to you. And I still am having this bizarre disorientation from it, you know?
All of us.
Yeah.
And this, you know, beauty's not a silver bullet. It's
Yeah,
just
no, right.
one thing to reach for, but you know, we're being shaken, you know,
Yeah.
and I have to remind myself to be gentle with myself. And, you know, there are going to be days where I'm not creative. Like the other day, I just couldn't, you know, I just needed to
Well,
just,
I don't feel every day has to be creative. I don't feel that marks me as a good day or a bad day. I think it's, for me, it's more finding a way to be at ease.
yes.
That's really more what it is, because I can be creative out of extreme anxiety, you know, but it's not how I want to be.
Right.
So it's trying to find some way of being at ease, and whether it's meditation or something, but getting so you can slow your breath down and really just kind of get in the moment and not worry so much about what's the point of all this or anything, you know.
Right.
But it's really interesting.
What I was trying to say is self-care. You know, self-care is, it's just, we have to do
Yeah.
care and just be gentle with ourselves in this and just take it one day at a time, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Thanks.
Anybody else want to just chime in?
This is Rose. Can you hear me?
Yes, Rose. Oh, I see now. I see him. Okay. Go ahead, Rose.
Yeah, hi there, by the way. Nice to see you, and thank you for putting this together. This is really special, and everyone who's joining. I guess I was really thrown by all of this because the last year I went through total hip surgery and decided to not go on disability and go straight into the job search after the total hip surgeries. And this is the time that I was off has given me more strength than I thought I would have if something like this happened. And the last week, actually the last 2 weeks since the pandemic was declared, I've gone through several stages and phases of just in acceptance and denial and figuring out what I'm going to be doing and how I'm accepting it. And like you, Kathleena, when you went through your, you know, the horrible phase when you were ill, during the hip surgeries, I went through a phase where I listened to hardly any television or anything, like any kind of outside news, anything like that. I read, I hardly even listen to music. It was really, really strange, but I was really in solitude and very much needed it and healing. And that has given me the strength to cope with all of this right now. Another thing that I've been doing is walking a lot, and really enjoying that. And my animals are so amazing, and they're so intuitive and lovely. I'm so grateful for them, and grateful for having so many wonderful friends, and having you as a friend as well. Another thing is the cleaning process. I was getting all hyped up and scared about, germs and doing double duty and using products that were not good for me. And I ended up changing the products that I was using, and it's really helped. It's changed my perspective on things. And I've always had healthy products on hand, but in the beginning, when the pandemic was declared, I was starting to clean with, a lot of bleach and too much bleach and not diluted enough. And I realized it just was not healthy at all. So I think part of the being honoring myself and the self-care is using better products that are healthier for me to clean my home.
Thank you for sharing that, Rose. I'm so glad you joined us.
Thank you.
So let's hear from Kathy and then Ronnie.
This is Kathy. Kathy, I live in Washington, D.C., and my husband is a cousin of Kathleena. And we met recently. We met about 1.5 years ago, and I think we called ourselves soul sisters at one point. But when you talked about beauty, you reminded me that on Monday, I've been spending a lot of time on FaceTiming with an aunt who's 85, who's American, who lives in Rome. And I spent 2 months with her last year. And we're very close, and I've been certainly worried about her. But she sent me, and that has been just having those connections with the people of Italy and relatives has actually put me on high alert related to the need to stay at home and to limit, to employ social distancing. But she sent me on Monday a video that had been produced in Italy for the doctors. It was, I think, related to Instagram, and you were supposed to send hearts to the doctors of Italy. And it was the song, it was beautiful scenery and Italy before this happened. And it was so beautiful, and it was about people engaging and having parties, and you saw these beautiful scenes of Italy, the south, the north, and to the tune of Volare. And at the end, there were doctors, just appreciating the hearts that they were getting. As I watched this, I burst into tears. I try to be a strong person. I had not had any of these emotions before, but there was something about watching this video that just struck my heart. And I think what I was experiencing was grief.
Yeah.
It was cathartic in a lot of ways. And the other thing is, I live in an apartment building, and I also live in Washington, D.C., where we're all news junkies. So I appreciate the comments about don't overdoing it with the media, because that's so important. My husband is with the FDA, and he's been working home for 2 weeks. I mean, he hasn't been able to slow down. It is nonstop. He's probably working right now. He deals with drug safety issues at the FDA. And so in terms of beauty, I'm taking on a different role than I've had in the past in terms of doing more of the cooking, doing more of the domestic stuff, making sure he has tea. I had a full-time job before, and I never quite fulfilled that role. So that has been helpful. But the one thing I'd love your advice about is how do we maintain our humanity in this crisis? I'm worried about my reaction when I'm in the building. I, try to avoid people. I tend to be very social. I like to touch people. I like to hug people. But I've had to and I'm concerned about the fact that I don't feel like I'm nice to people, as nice as I usually am. I'm more determined to get into my apartment, go get my mail, and back up to my apartment. There's issues that are erupting with the use of the communal laundry room. We had a neighbor who was trapped in Morocco who just got back, and we were, I had some discussion with her about the need to quarantine. She's one of the Americans trapped in Morocco. So there's issues of how do we maintain our humanity in all of this? And we're so used to helping. So anyway, but thank you so much for your comments. This has been very helpful to me. I appreciate all of your insights.
Thank you, Kathy. So we'll reconnect later or
Yes.
tomorrow. Okay, good.
Can I jump in here?
Ronnie and then Deborah.
Okay.
Hi, this is Ronnie. Yeah, this has been quite an interesting experience. My husband and I have two boys, one in 9th grade and one in 6th grade. So we're all quarantined together, and everyone's thankfully healthy, and I am grateful every day for that. My husband's a physician, and he had been sort of watching this story and this issue develop, I would say kind of on the early side. So he got to sort of DEFCON 5 really fast. And before the governor and the 6 counties told everyone to quarantine, he sort of said, this is going to happen. We need to get ready. He went to Target, I went to Costco, we stocked up, we pulled the kids out of school a couple of days before their school officially closed down. And so I sort of feel like we flipped a switch in a day. Wow. And just went into lockdown. And, it's been going actually relatively smoothly from that perspective. And we've spent a lot of time as a family doing things together, which has been great. Like today we cleaned the house from top to bottom. And which was, I give my boys and my husband a lot of credit. Everybody was cleaning the toilets and, scrubbing the floors and, trying to make sure the house stays clean, which, just for our health, as much as anything. And also because we're here all the time, so it gets messy pretty quickly. Right. So that's been actually really nice for us to really work together as a team. And then something else happened that was really unexpectedly beautiful that I thought would be fun to share. So I have twin brothers who live on opposite coasts, and their 50th birthday was yesterday. And I had planned on putting together a box of photos for each of them. I've inherited all of my parents' old family photos. So I have boxes and boxes of photos that are completely disorganized. And I thought, well, let me open some of those boxes up and pull some fun photos from our childhood and make each of them a box. So in the process of doing this, obviously I had a lot more spare time to dig into that project. In the process of doing this, I found a folded up piece of paper tucked between some really old photographs. And I opened up the piece of paper. I almost threw the paper away because there was a lot of random paper in there in these boxes. And I was just going through sort of systematically tossing the random papers. But this one, for whatever reason, looked so carefully folded, I thought maybe this is important, I should look at it. So I opened it up, and it was written in Indian script. My family's from Pune in India. And it was written in Marathi, which is the language we speak there. And I can't read Marathi. So I thought, well, this looks sort of important. It's written in almost a calligraphy style. Let me text it to my uncle and see if he knows what it says. And I had been texting various family members all day. When I would run across a funny photo, I would text it, take a picture of it, and send it to them. So in that spirit, I shot it off to him, and he said, "This is a poem written by your grandmother on the occasion of your twin brother's birth."
Oh.
And this was literally like 3 days before their 50th birthday.
Wow.
And none of us knew about this poem. My mother had never mentioned it to us. Nobody had ever talked about it. I don't even know if my mom knew she still had it. Maybe she thought she'd lost it somewhere.
Wow.
So for their birthday, my uncle translated the poem for us, and then my boys and I made cards for them with the poem, like a scan of the poem and a translation and a little note about what had happened, and sent it off to them. And so they both got a package for me on their birthdays, kind of revealing this poem. And on the card, I said, "This is a gift from your grandmother and your mother. And me on your 50th birthday." So of course they both cried when they opened the card, which was really sweet. And obviously completely unexpectedly beautiful. And I don't know that I would have found that poem if we had not had so much spare time to go through those boxes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is truly beautiful.
Isn't that crazy?
She takes all different forms. That's
Yeah.
an extraordinary story. That's beautiful.
That is unbelievably beautiful. Yeah, gorgeous.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you for coming today. And Deborah, you'll be our last share, and then we're going to move into sort of the next segment of this for people.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathleena.
Kathleen, I'm going to have to go because I have a 5:15 Zoom.
Hey, darling. Talk to you later.
I'm just zooming all over. But thank you very, very much. And thank you all. And just hoping we all find, it's just being able to reach out like this and realize you're not alone, that is so important.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm going to sign off too. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kathleena. See you later. Okay.
We started a few minutes late, so I'm going to go over a few minutes. But Deborah, if you could share a short share, and then I'll move into the next segment.
Okay, I'm not the one that has something to share. Michael does, and he's on my speakerphone. So he asked me if he could speak and say what his thoughts are. So
yes.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Great. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I've been using this time as someone who's been, for as long as I can remember, working on my work-life balance to recommit to practices, especially my forgiveness work. And not only is there time to do it, but there's a shifting of context. It's like, wow, in the face of a pandemic, my resentments towards a half dozen people look pretty small. I've also been, doing some cleaning in my studio that I've put off for a long time. But the thing that, to really address your question about beauty, I still have to go out and buy things, and I make it a point, every worker who I encounter, whether they be at the check line or in the aisles or in the parking lot, I look them straight in the eye and say, thank you, I really appreciate you being here. And I don't lose my gaze with them until they see me seeing them. And I can tell that it is making some kind of difference. But to every worker I see, that's all.
Connection. It's amazing.
Connection mixed with gratitude.
Yep. Gratitude and being seen and feeling really appreciated. That's really healing. Thank you, Michael, for sharing that.
Sure.
It's these little moments, that make such a difference right now because we're all slowing down. So what I want to just say, I'm going to share this screen again with you as we wrap up this part of it. And the next piece is about root coverage and also like having great hair during this time of, it's kind of a, hold on one second here. But I wanted to just let you know what I'm going to be doing online. I am going to offer these free things every 2 weeks. where I can show things like makeup techniques. There are 3 areas of online services I can provide, which is my beauty coaching lessons. I'm a beauty counter consultant. You don't have to buy that, but it's if people want to have some distraction or do something that they've been wanting to do but never just got around to it, I can do that online with you. The other thing that I'm offering is I am a emotional freedom techniques, which is a tapping relaxation technique, energy technique that I can do online with people, as well as I'm offering tarot readings. I have not figured out how to give a haircut online. It doesn't work.
Oh, really?
Just not able to do color online on hair or haircuts. So
Phooey.
I'm providing energy support and emotional support to clients right now. And the tarot thing is really about energy as well. It's a daily practice for me in my meditation and kind of checking in, looking into that mirror of what energetic is around me and what's inside of me, body, mind, spirit, and heart. So I just wanted to put that out there. And for people who are interested in the root coverage information, I have a little thing I want to share with you. Let's see. Excel spreadsheet with several products that you can use. I'm going to talk about for the next, we did start a little bit late, so I'm going to spend about 10 minutes talking about these different products if you're interested. This is now. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Zoom presentation. Cover product research. Here we go. So for those of you who were flirting with the idea of growing your hair out, now is an easy time to do that. Let's see. Can you see this spreadsheet that I have on my desktop?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Great. Okay, so I've had a couple of clients very concerned about their hair growing in. And at first, I have to be honest, I was like, are you kidding me? Really? With everything that's going on, you're really concerned about that? But then I dropped into my heart and into my compassionate heart and realized that it's not about the roots. Gray hair is gray hair. It's not going to kill you. It's how you see yourself and how you feel when you see yourself, and then how you interpret what you see. So we need to be gentle with ourselves. And in this situation where we've been forced into a corner to look at parts of ourselves we don't usually look at, it can be very jarring and daunting, no matter what's going on outside of us. So I put this together. I wanted to just speak about the different methods of root coverage. This is something I researched. Some of them had very, very good ratings with the Environmental Working Group, which is an organization. It's a database called Skin Deep that you can put a product in and see. It cross-references the ingredients with another database that shows if those particular ingredients have been flagged for cancer or hormone disruption or just a whole bunch of things. It's called Environmental Working Group, and the database is Skin Deep. But not all products are in the database. There's spray root touch-up. There's cream, like a mascara touch-up. There's a cream brush and wand kind of product that I saw. And one that I've used when I was very sick, I was wearing a wig for 2 years because I lost some hair in that whole physical health challenge. And also there's a brush on powder that you can use. Now, There's also a sprinkle powder. I didn't put on there a product called Topics, but the powders are more, they do coverage on the root, but they're also good for when your hair is really sparse. It basically is wool fiber that goes onto the scalp that makes the scalp look darker and thicker, the hair look thicker. So on this, this is in no particular order. A product that I found interesting that was out there and available was Tresemme Root Touch-Up Temporary Color Spray. It had a good rating on EWG, and it only came in 4 colors. I can, you can have this. I can send this to you.
Please do send it. Yeah.
There's something called No Gray Quick Fix Touch Up for gray roots. That also had a good rating. They both were very inexpensive, and it had another color. It had red. Mineral Fusion also, there was no rating, but the company does all kinds of cleaner makeup. Mineral Fusion, which I believe is at Whole Foods. Mineral Fusion, I think, is that makeup line at Whole Foods. And I think also Sprouts out here in California covers it. They had a very interesting cream mascara. And when I was wearing my wig and growing out my gray hair, I would be using the cream mascara product. That comes in a bunch of colors: dark blonde, light brown, dark brown, medium brown, black, blonde, and auburn. $18. Then, of course, there's Madison Reed Root Touch-Up and the color Wow. These are popular online kind of, Madison Reed is a do-it-yourself product line. You know, I won't get into my editorial about them and about Color Wow, but in any event, they do have brush-on powder, and they have it in a lot of colors. So they're a lot more expensive than the others. The reason I would encourage you not to use box color, I mean, do what you have to make yourself feel better. Just know that box color is an inferior molecule, color molecule, than what, for instance, Jennifer and I use at the salon. And Jennifer, if you want to chime in here, if you're still on, now would be a good time. It's very expensive to do color correction, because when you use box color, what ends up happening is, because you can't really see what you're doing, you put it on and you overlap, and there becomes a color buildup. So not great for your hair. It's harsh. What I would suggest is that you do your part line and you do around your temples so that you don't have to see it, because nobody is going to see underneath here. Just cover what you can see. And I think Jennifer hopped off.
No, I'm right here.
Oh, you are? Did you want to?
Yeah.
Did you want to chime in here?
I've been chatting on Zoom group chat. I'm not sure if anybody's seeing what I'm saying. So I'd like to start by saying I agree. Do not use box color, because in the end, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a very expensive, time-consuming color correction.
Expensive. Yeah.
Yes. Expensive, time-consuming nightmare. It will wreck your hair on the shaft, like Kathleena just described. And the other thing, the other reason you want to avoid it is for them to, on the box, you know, they always have like, this is the color you're going to get. Well, the only way that they can guarantee that color swatch that's on the box is by using 30 volume. Box color uses 30 volume. So 30, where everybody disappeared. Oh, there we go. 30 volume means 3 levels of lift. So if you have my hair color, then that means you're going to end up being kind of a red-orange color. That part of the color that you're going to do is permanent. The only permanent part of color is what you lifted your natural pigment to. The rest of it, I don't care if it's called permanent, it's not, because color ends up coming out from the sun and water. So please do not use box color. Please, please, please do not use box color. And I found an article today from Allure to add to this spreadsheet. That's awesome. Thank you. And there are only 2 on their list of the 7 best root touch-up to try at home that are permanent. And I don't know why these hairdressers are recommending permanent color, but there were others that I can share with you guys. Kathleena, you tell me how I can share them with you, but it's allure.com. The article is called The 7 Best Root Touch-Up Kits to Try at Home. Just ignore the 2 permanent ones that they talk about. Do not use anything that says permanent, because again, you're going to get into that. You're lifting your natural pigment up 3 levels for them to guarantee the deposited color. And the only permanent part of that process is what you've lifted your hair pigment to. So definitely.
Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes.
Why don't you type that in the
oh, good idea.
The little thing?
You got it.
And then people will have it if they want to go back in the recording.
I have not vetted these yet, so I don't know what their standing is on EWG. So I highly recommend you're going to EWG Skin Deep, because I haven't had a chance yet, to vet these and see what their rating is.
If that's what you're concerned with. I mean, not everything on my list is EWG approved. The WOW and the, I don't know about Madison Reed, really, if they're truly what they say they are.
I've used the Madison one for dark brown, and it's okay. It's pretty good. I wouldn't call it excellent, but it's pretty good. Maybe I just need a slightly darker color, but it did a fairly good job.
Any of these are going to camouflage to some degree. The one that I think is, I put it on that list. The one that I was using was no gray, or gray free. Gray, oh, I didn't put it on there. It was called gray free. However, I think the Boyd's Brush It Away is probably just as good, and it has better colors. I had a hard time getting the gray free for whatever reason. I just couldn't find it anymore. Now, the last thing I want to show you is just an idea, and that is, this is perfect hair every day. If you are out of your mind and you just need to see yourself feeling like your hair is done. When I was recording, right? I ordered a wig. I have 6 of this style. In fact, a lot of my clients that are on today have seen me in this wig when they first met me. Now, with wigs, there are these tabs here. I saw my shit out. First, synthetic wig, actually synthetic wig, it's a long, long way from our mother's times.
Kathleena?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but you cut out while you were saying important things. And I absolutely love that you brought this out, because it's gorgeous and very helpful.
Here's the thing. You know what? We got to do what makes us feel good right now. And we don't know how long this is going to be. And rather than yourself for hair, for the cost of a haircut, hear me? Can't hear me. Oh, shit. What is happening? Can you hear me? Oh, damn. Hold on.
Kathleena, it's much easier to hear you when you're sitting a little bit back from the screen.
Okay. Is this better if I have this on? Can you hear me if
No,
I don't
okay.
use this? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did I get cut out? Anyway.
When you leaned in toward the screen.
So the point is that for the cost of a haircut, if you're really feeling like crap and you really just can't stand looking yourself away, I wore for like 2 or 3 years while my hair was growing back in. And actually there were products that Jennifer had in the salon. The hair is 4% oil, which is a combination of oils. There's nothing toxic whatsoever. Massaging that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're sounding like a computer again. So I'm going to get off video, and if everybody else gets off video, that seemed to work before. So I'm going to do that now.
Okay, thanks, honey. So what I was saying was that there was a product that does on called massaging itself, and that seems to stimulate hair growth, as well as I do called Where's it showing on my mind? I don't know now. Color-proof polymer barrier. It's a food conditioner and tonic that helps her growth. So my point is that I love this express myself. I love seeing myself with this going on. Even though I express myself, you're very interested in your expression. I would just with myself around hurting anything from that. It's just part of you. And that's really it. I really am so grateful. I hope you can hear me. I'm so grateful that
Now I can hear you.
now you can hear me. I don't know why it's doing this. Anyway, I guess it's time to wrap up. I'm just so grateful to all shut up. It's not cooperating right now. So I just want to say thank you. Be safe. Please let me know if there's anything that I can do for you. And thank you so much. It's Richard. Thank you so much. Okay, bye. Be well.